just looking to have fun with it. Two dudes talking about whatever.
Unlocking the secrets of the universe and also making shit jokes.
The video vengeance. We're back with video. We figured it out.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us while we...
Or, if you didn't, just know that, it'll come back on you.
Yeah.
We're a vengeance-themed podcast.
Yeah, we're back with raw sexual energy. And,
Sexual energy.
Yeah, in a new space. And we're
in the jungle. I don't know if people are just listening, look, you'll see the video and you'll get that joke. That's a joke for you later.
Do you remember, speaking of vengeance and jungle boogie?
Yes.
Do you remember when our friend Matt Boyd, who lives in Austin now?
I love Matt
He was
Boyd.
at an open mic and he was really drunk. And he would go up.
Mic?
Yeah, well, we had this Tuesday open mic. It was like a late night open mic, and so there was a good one before it at the East Room. So you'd like actually work on stuff at that one.
Yeah.
And then you would get hammered, and then we would all safely
Take public transit to that other
to
one.
the next open mic, which was like located at like this hipster honky tonk bar behind a sex store.
You'd always meet like Jimmy Buffett's third bass player.
Yeah.
He'd be like, he plays here once a month. You'd be like, I don't give a shit. I don't care if he headlines here every night. Yeah. I just want to do my jokes.
Yeah, there was like a lot of like white boy reggae energy there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And but mixed with like country stuff, so there'd be like antler lamps everywhere.
Yep.
And just the saddest people in the world. So it's like people who lit like old like singer songwriters who are like, I almost had a shot.
One day I met Waylon Jennings. He said,
And then a bunch of kids who moved here from like Youngstown, Ohio,
Yes.
to be like, I'm the next Taming Impala. And then and then we would do an open mic, and they just hated it. Nobody liked it. So
they
we'd
didn't
get
know it
fucked
was
up.
an ambush.
Yeah, it was an ambush.
Yeah.
And we would just get fucked up. I used to get like trashed and just scream at people.
Yep.
On stage. And Matt was there one night, and he went on stage, and he wasn't doing any comedy. He was just singing Jungle Boogie. Jungle Boogie. And
it was kind of charming. When you say he was doing that, he was actually like kind of, it was a nice reprieve from the people who had just been doing
well,
comedy.
on paper, anything Matt does is like really offensive and annoying.
Yes.
But then you see him do it, and you're like, oh man, it's something about the charm. He's a very just charming guy.
Seeing a man with that neck do anything.
That neck.
Just a neck that should be in a museum.
Oh yeah, he's got like a real. As Herm put it one time, this comedian in our scene, Herm, he said, "You built like a Q-tip." I feel like that pretty much. That's gonna sum it up better than I can.
Yeah, he's not
wrong.
And
so he's doing the Jungle Boogie thing. He's a Jungle Boogie, and then dude, there's this old man in the crowd watching him, just like getting so he had enough. He literally like he stood up and he went enough.
Yeah.
And then he was just like. He snapped, dude. He couldn't take it anymore. And he came up and he swung on Matt. He tried to knock him out on stage, and Matt like matrixed him.
To be fair, it was a very small old man.
Yeah.
And like kind of looked like one of the hobbits.
Yeah.
And he charged the stage.
And he charged the stage and tried to swing it.
And it was like a slow motion charge. Like I remember being like, "Is he charging?" Yeah. Like it wasn't clear because it was such a weak charge that everyone was like, I think he thinks he's charging.
I was like, nah, he ain't charging.
I think he's trying to find the bathroom. Oh, no, he's charging.
Yeah, he might be charging up.
Yeah, he might be getting ready to charge, but he certainly is not mid. But then we found out, nope, that was his charge.
That was his
And Matt didn't give a shit.
No.
Matt never gives it.
I think he even connected.
Yeah.
But the man was so old and frail that it just like... Ugh.
Yeah. Like you could see powder come off of it when he hit connected. And then what happened, Chance? How does this story get happy again?
Oh, okay, yeah. So then the bartender comes up. He's like, "Hey, man, sorry about that. That guy, yeah, he's only got 2 weeks to live, so he's a little on edge." And we were like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, he has terminal cancer.
He's got 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so he's spending it here.
He's spending it here, getting in fights with kids."
Dude, I actually now at the time I remember being like, that guy's a dick. But now that I'm older, if I had 2 weeks to live and anybody made me go to an open mic,
yeah.
I would open up.
I mean, it really is almost like a Kurosawa kind of character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of. It's like the guy in the movie we're going to talk about today, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance,
yeah.
Who's okay. I'm not a doctor, but this man has a condition where his arms are. It's like he's doing the YMCA thing. He's doing the Y, and he gets stuck.
Oh, that guy.
That guy, and he's just that's his whatever medical condition that is.
Yeah.
Stuck arms. itis. And he that's what that guy reminded me of.
Oh yeah, I know. So that
type of character.
That guy coming up and swinging on Matt.
That guy swinging on Matt was what that felt like, and that was like that was one of the great open mic moments of my life. You don't realize they're happening when they're happening, but that was like I was like that was awesome.
Well, open mics are like a really great breeding ground for vengeance and everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All things revenge, and that's what we're here to talk about today. We're back. We took some time off from the podcast. We meditated on our hatred for our enemies.
Yes.
And thank you for sticking around and checking in
like
on the old Animal Secrets podcast.
I like the order. You're like, we meditated on our hatred for our enemies. Thanks for being here. Like as if they're also kind of our enemies. You're like, you goddamn.
Oh no, you guys are
great.
Yeah, we have I think us and all the Patreon members, our interests have aligned.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like Germany and Italy. You know what I mean?
In like the 70s.
Yeah.
That's the last alliance I know about.
Yeah. Well, this is off the rails already.
Yeah, it was gonna get that way though. I listen. We got a sweet new video thing. We're gonna do all sorts of like weird. We're probably gonna film ourselves playing Mario Party.
Yeah,
we're really. You know when people are like,
Connor's excited. You got like
so
dog in
excited.
a truck bed energy, but it's just because we're really excited about the new space.
Well, also it's like okay, when you start doing comedy, you're like, what do people want? And then you get to a point where you go, I'm gonna do the most specific thing, and just have faith that there are psychos who will be like, I actually like that too, which is what I've found from like just mostly watching the UFC. You just post like crazy UFC stuff, and some guy from a cave will be like, I was watching that too. Like you just find people. I think that's what we should do with this podcast. Just let it get specific, and then let psychos find it.
Yeah, I think it's like that Daniel Tosh bit where he was like, I start with a bit with like a wide net, and then it's like by the end of it, it's only for exactly one person in the audience. And then that is a good. Yeah, but he says that, but everybody's laughing. Yeah, so it's like
when people actually do that, it's like it ends with them just being like, "Mom," like they're reliving
like
a moment.
G.G. Allen.
Yeah, did you ever get into that?
People sucking his dick at his funeral. Did you see that?
I missed his funeral.
I didn't go.
Was it live streamed? I do remember thinking G.G. Allen was cool, like right around that Hunter S. Thompson phase, where it's just like, dude, art that doesn't make money is great. Yeah. That was really my feeling. Like, as long as it sucked as far commercially, I mean.
Yeah, you know what would have made Hunter S. Thompson great is if he had just like chilled on the drugs a little bit and really focused on writing. You know.
Hey, can we get this nerd off my podcast? No, that is 100%.
G.G. Allen too. It's like, man.
Yeah.
Maybe if you just like, written
chilled
a good
out.
song.
Yeah. Also, all those bands like that, they have like one album, and then everyone's like, yeah. After that, it was just like 20 years of them trying to get it together. And meanwhile, like most bands are like, we put out one every 2 years, and they're great.
Yeah, it's like that whole like burnout, fade away shit is so.
Yeah. Well, I just turned 19 last week. Time's going so fast. And
what's your plan? Are you taking a gap year?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a gap year. Yeah. I just hope the parties at college are crazy.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Just because you won that senior superlative, that doesn't mean shit in the real world, buddy.
Most likely.
Welcome to the real world.
There's so many good superlatives I could have got. I lost most humorous in high school to some kid who was in like some like. It was called IB. It was like that program for like just like they never saw us. They were like the kids who were gonna go to like good schools. Yeah. And I was like, how the fuck is he the funniest kid? Nobody even met him. Yeah. What's my science project volcano is pink lava. It's like what? How's that kid funny? He's not funny. I should have won.
They gave it to you?
No, they gave it to him.
Oh really?
Yeah. Nobody even knew him. I'm fine about it. It doesn't matter. You won yours?
Oh, I won it.
Yeah, but I heard it's a bad school district.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, most likely to be found in a motel. Hanging from the
most likely to masturbate on a bus.
Curtain.
Yeah, they were like on
it's
a bus.
It's a long name for a senior superlative.
It's an art school. You know, it's an art school. All right, what the hell are we talking about? Something.
Okay, so we checked out this movie by Park Chan-wook. The guy
so
did
glad you
Old
said
Boy.
It. So glad you said it. I had I was like, dude, I know it's 3 words, but I have no idea.
I got us, baby boy.
You got it?
Yeah.
Any names coming up, I'll look to you.
Listen, you're dog in a truck bed. I'm fucking in the cabin, dude. I'm smoking Marlboro Reds. I got Hank Jr. playing.
Hank Jr.
I got you, baby boy.
So we watched Park Chan-wook's Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, which is like the second movie in the Vengeance trilogy. Old Boy being the famous one that people know.
Old Boy's the one everybody knows, where the guy fucks his daughter and then cuts out his tongue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I kind of forgot the plot till you just said it right now. He does have sex with his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remembered the crazy scene where he's locked in a hotel room for like 10 years.
Yeah, he's locked in that room, and then he's just doing push-ups and getting swole. I remember watching that and being like, man, if you just put me in a room for 6 months, dude, I would come out yacked.
Yeah,
You know
well,
that was my big takeaway from watching Old Boy at 16.
Oh, dude, anytime you see like, I remember anytime seeing like a prison movie where I'd be like, dude, I'd come out so jacked, and then it's like, I mean, dude, when you're 16, you kind of have that time. You could have done that at 16. Yeah. It's not like I had like shit to do. I had to go do a shift at Publix, and then I was like, what do I do till next week? You know what I mean? Like I could have I never got jacked.
You worked at Publix?
I worked at Publix for 3
stock
weeks.
Options?
I didn't. You don't get them after 3 weeks. And I worked there just long enough to buy mushrooms to do with my butt. I remember we bought like 10 bags of mushrooms, and then I was like, hey, I quit. And the lady was like, what do you mean you quit? You trained for a week and then you worked for like 2. How are you quitting?
And you're like, well, I figured it out. She's like, figured what out? You're like, I figured it out.
I figured it out. Here's the worst part. Lady who hired me, her name's Wendy, not a patron, and she still works there.
Wendy?
Wendy. So when I go home, I go to Publix, and I just see this old woman who I don't even think remembers that I was a terrible, like, just 2-week hassle for her.
Yeah.
But I remember.
Yeah, you're just a photo in the shoebox, man.
Yeah. So whenever I'm checking out, whatever she says, like if she's like, is plastic okay? I go, no, paper. Or if she does the opposite, I flip it. I just try to, I'm trying to, this is a vengeance episode. She didn't do anything wrong, but that's not how vengeance works. You know what I mean? I feel bad, so I lash out at her. That's how vengeance works.
That is vengeance. So this movie's about, it's about a guy who, it's a Korean movie about vengeance. Oh, you were telling me the thing about, their culture of vengeance that you got from the Bourdain episode. What's the deal with this?
Yeah, so I watched the Bourdain episode where they go to Korea, and there's a girl who works on the show, and she's talking about like there's a Korean concept, because I guess the history of Korea is like they've just gotten their ass kicked by like either Japan or Mongolia or China, like these bigger nations around them.
Right.
And it's like this kind of like desolate mountainous place. Like it's not like a great place to grow stuff. It's not a super easy place to live for most people.
Right, so it's just kind of like bleak and
and
severe. Everything's very severe.
They're getting conquered all the time, and it's just like a rough time to be Korean for the last like couple thousand years. And then
so what was the deal? They were conquered by China.
Well, definitely Genghis Khan. He got him.
Genghis Khan got him. Yeah.
China gets him.
No, it was Kublai Khan.
Kublai Khan. One of the Khans.
Yeah, it was Kublai Khan.
Yeah, but I never think, as far as I know, there was never like a big Korean power. I think they were probably always under whoever was big in Asia at that time.
Right.
That's who was like owning Korea.
Right.
So they have like their own culture and stuff, but it's always under
which post Mongolia is China.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and then Japan at some point.
Post-Mongol Empire is just and then Japan.
Yeah. And so they have this concept called Han, which is like vengeance.
Bread.
And it's it's like this idea that like, I guess just revenge and the ability to like delay it and hold on to grudges for a long time.
Right.
Is like a part of Korean culture, and I just remember seeing that and being like, that's so crazy that you would, like, French people were like, oh, we live a nice life. It's poetry and great food. And Korean people were like, part of our life is vengeance.
Yeah.
It's like, God damn, dude. All right.
I love it.
It's a cool idea.
In the West over here, we're all like, right now, it's like, it's all about positivity and like denying that you have any negative emotions.
Yeah.
And that bitterness, you shouldn't even acknowledge that you have any bitterness.
Yeah.
I was talking to a guy last night. He just got, I shouldn't talk about it. Never mind. He just got fired from his job.
Okay.
And he was talking to me and he was like, I know I shouldn't feel like mad towards my boss. And I was like, yeah, you should.
Yeah, why not?
What is that? He's like, well, you're not supposed to like harbor these negative emotions. Like, no, you need to harness that.
Yeah.
And you need to focus on your vengeance.
Also, where's that coming from? Like, you're not supposed to. Why?
Yeah, why not?
There's a cool. I read I listened to this podcast once, and this guy was talking about cultures of honor.
Yeah.
And like, like cultures that have like blood feuds. So like Scotland in the past. A lot of like the Middle East, a lot like places that have like, you kill somebody, I got to come back and kill you.
Right.
That's like, that kind of made sense for most of human history. Like, I get why we're not for it now.
Right.
But for a lot of human history, that was like the only way to hold people accountable was the idea that if you did something to me, somebody else in their family would come back. Because otherwise, there was just like there was
no system in place to.
Yeah, where are you gonna downvote it on YouTube? Like, there's nothing you can't do.
Yeah, you had to like go to like the noble whose lands you worked and be like, put in a thing, be like, hey, can you please address this issue?
Yeah.
And he'd be like,
No.
He would just be like, what?
Who are you?
Yeah, and then he'd club you.
He'd
and
be like, I thought you were corn.
yeah.
Aren't you corn?
Yeah.
You always bring me corn. I thought
He's
you
like,
were
I'm
corn.
trying to fuck my cousin. Will you get out of here?
Yeah. So it's like, dude, that whole
So
idea.
you got to kind of take matters into your own hands.
Yeah, dude, I was reading, so I read like Seneca's like this Stoic philosopher, and he writes stuff, and there's always passages about slaves, which is funny that this is a guy thinking about the moral universe and never at any point is like, maybe slavery is not so cool. Whatever, it doesn't matter. He's always writing about how like essentially
Slaves in the Roman context too would have been
like 90% of the population. It feels
everything around the Mediterranean area,
the
right?
half of the board game Risk.
Yeah.
And then so he's always talking about like essentially there's like a recurring theme in this thing is just like slaves killing their masters, and there is sort of an idea of like if you have no power in a situation, the only like real threat that like keeps people's behavior in check is like the idea that at some point you might just be like, I don't care if I get killed, I'm killing you.
Yeah.
So I think the idea of like vengeance as like a, it's weird that it's so muted now. Like in our culture, you can't really talk about vengeance. I mean, you can talk about it, but people not on dates. And
well, it's like baked into our DNA almost.
Yeah, and it's for how most of human history, like it was like a realized normal bargaining chip or like concept.
Right.
And now it's like not at all. I mean, even when you think about today, like justice, like if you're wronged by somebody, if somebody hits your card, they don't even pay you. Their insurance pays you.
Yeah.
And or like if you have a complaint with a company, you don't talk to the person who fucked you. You call like a guy in a different city.
Yeah.
Who's then like, well, I mean, how much do you want to take it out on me? Like it's like a human shield.
Yeah.
On the phone.
And like everyone in the situation is wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you're not able to, you should be able to like march into the guy who owns the place's business and scream at him.
Pull him up by his tie and just choke him. But
you just choke him a little bit.
They're evil, and they leverage the fact that you're like, all right, Delta Airlines just fucked me. But this lady working the counter is not Delta Airlines. She's like their human shield.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to scream at her.
Yeah.
Even though this is a scream-worthy offense. So it's like this sinister system of like, you just have no recourse.
That's exactly what it is. Horizontal integration is just that at like the federal prosecution level, right?
Yeah.
So it's horizontal integration meaning like instead of a sole proprietor owning a business, shareholders own a business, right? So it's like you disseminate responsibility among like a group of shareholders. So if somebody fucks you over, you can't prosecute all the shareholders.
That's also how they get like get atrocities to happen.
Yeah.
Is like they're just like, well, all you do is guard this door.
Yeah.
And you're like, why am I guarding the door? They're like, you guard the door.
Yeah.
And you don't worry.
And you got one guy who brings me the blowtorch.
Yeah.
And then you got one
like,
guy who turns the
blowtorch?
knob on the blowtorch.
Oh, it's like that experiment where they just have people turn up the pain dial to see like how much they'll do it. And it's like, if you just get somebody else to be like, just turn it up.
Yeah.
They're like, are you willing to take responsibility? And the guy's like, yeah. And then they do it. And it's like, you're still responsible. It's a weird, like, really sinister thing they've leveraged of like, if you just kind of make it not quite clear that you're responsible.
Right.
A, people are dying for you to do that. So they'll be like, sure.
Yeah.
And B, you can get away with horrible shit because it's just like, well, who am I going to, there's no one to go after.
So that's kind of like the modern experience, right?
Yeah.
And everyone kind of feels like, we all feel kind of crazy because it's like you can't really like vent your frustrations
Not
on
me,
anybody
but I get what
in
you're
a real
saying.
way. So watching this movie, while it is insanely fucked up, it's also like weirdly cathartic.
Yeah, it's cool to be it's a very straightforward, like this dude was wronged.
Yeah.
And he has every reason in the world, like whatever moral code you're navigating by.
Yeah.
This guy has a right to go after this other guy.
Yeah.
And it's awesome because it's never that clear cut.
Yeah, because it's like, well, the whole movie is about just like vengeance breeds this endless cycle of vengeance that you can never escape, right?
It's also like that. I kind of
because it's like you initially you every character is empathetic. You're like it almost like plays on the chord of like how we identify with vengeance. It's like you identify at different parts of the movie with everyone taking their vengeance.
Yeah.
And then once somebody takes theirs, then you're like, you support the next person taking their vengeance. And it's almost like the goalposts are constantly shifting. Yeah. And it's like, what does that say about, I don't even know what I want to say about it, but it's such a profound idea that like the moment somebody exacts their vengeance, they now become unsympathetic.
Well, it's a cycle of a feud. All right, you can do it, but then I got to come back and you know what I mean?
It's and like, now you identify with the next person who it's just this endless.
Yeah, doesn't ever end.
It's almost like, you know what it reminds me of? So it's like you support the guy who's gonna exact his vengeance on, like, this guy's been wrong, now he's gonna get his vengeance, and you're like, go kill him, go kill him, go kill him, and then the moment he kills the guy, you feel bad. Now you don't feel sympathetic towards that character anymore. It's almost like when you like want to fuck somebody really bad, and you're like, yes, yes, yeah, and the moment you come, you're like, oh.
Yeah. I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
How do I get out of this tent?
Yeah.
It's a circus tent. But no, it's also I like that it's an adult. It's an adult movie in terms of it's not like the bad guy is wearing a black cape. Hold on, circus tent still going. Come on, you never wanted to fuck somebody in a circus tent, and then you're trying to get out, and the flap. There's a bear on a unicycle, and you're like, does he know how to get out?
The cops burst in.
Yeah.
And
you can't tell if that's part of. And you're gonna get away.
You're trying to get out, but you're tripping over your big red shoes.
You would get away if not for those damn shoes. That's why Nike needs to come out with a clown shoe for dudes who get pussy in circus tents. I've been saying that. You know.
What were we were doing last night? We were like, made it get a dick like a clown shoe.
We were speculating about a man who might have a dick like a clown shoe. It had like a squeaky toy in the end of it. So anyway, I like it's an adult movie in terms of. All right, remember we were talking about Licorice Pizza last week, and I went to the mall and they had one theater for Licorice Pizza. They had 6 for Spider-Man No Way Home. And it's just like, God damn it, dude, does it have to be? Yeah. So this movie is 2002. It's Korean. And I like that it's like, every character is a nuanced character where you're like, I get how that happens. And it's like this tragedy where there's a lot of suffering in the movie.
Right.
And it's kind of everyone's fault and it's kind of no one's fault. And like at the end of it, you're just like, you look like the guys like when their team loses the World Series and they're just like, whew. Like that's how it feels at the end. You're like, God damn. And it's an adult movie in terms of like sometimes things just happen and then people are like in circumstances where it's understandable for everyone to act the way they're acting and it still leads to a tragedy.
Right.
And it's not like, oh, well, this guy was at fault or this guy. It's like, no, that's how circumstances happen.
It's true tragedy. Like it's
tragedy.
It's true tragedy. And we'll do Tragedy of Macbeth next week, by the way. So it's like
we saw Tragedy of Macbeth by A24 and The Blood Throne, which is Macbeth's it's like a Kurosawa Macbeth.
Kurosawa Macbeth adaptation. So yeah, we're doing a whole vengeance series.
Yeah.
But,
even though I don't think either of us have been wronged in quite a while.
I wish somebody would wrong me so I could exact my revenge.
I wish they would.
Yeah.
Fuck around and find out.
I wish a motherfucker would.
Fuck around and find out.
But you know better.
But you know better. Yeah, dude, that movie. So it's very adult. Should we go over the plot? The plot is crazy.
Yeah, let's like lay out the plot so it gives context to what we're talking about.
The main character.
We probably did this the wrong way.
That doesn't matter. Yeah. Listen, you're here. This is your fault. The main character is a deaf mute guy, and he works in a factory. And he dropped out of art school, so clearly he's like he could have pursued that, which would be more fulfilling, to take care of his sick sister who needs dialysis and a kidney.
Right.
And then we find out.
And he works in a factory.
He works in a factory, and it's like this awesome scene where it's just he's deaf and mute, so nobody's talking, but like you hear the droning and grinding and like. It's like a 9 Inch Nails song that never got mixed. It's just like in your ear for like 5 minutes watching him do this mindless job. And then you find out he's trying to get his sister a new kidney, and they live in this like shitty apartment. And there's this crazy scene where their neighbors are all jerking off. And then
that's a great scene, right?
It's the funniest
scene. So he
I've ever
lives
seen.
with his sister, and she's like in like excruciating pain.
Oh yeah.
And so the scene is like they're in the apartment complex, and in this wall there's like a wall in between our main characters and it's like 5 dudes who live in a tiny little like Korean apartment, and they're all like back to back, like listening against with their ears to the wall, jerking off.
Yeah.
And they got like magazines of like girls taped to each other's backs.
He's got it taped to the back of the guy's head.
Yeah, and the guy keeps turning and he turns his head back around so he can keep jerking off.
Like, don't break the illusion. I'm jerking off to a naked woman taped to the back of your head.
And they're listening. Their ears are against the wall, and they're listening to the girl moaning.
Yeah.
And then it cuts over, and she's moaning because her like kidney is like
she needs dialysis.
And she's like screaming like, ah!
Yeah.
And she's like, and then the guy is deaf. in mute.
Yeah.
So he's just sitting there turned away from her. He has no idea she's screaming. He's just eating noodles.
Dude, it's
and she's like screaming.
Within
it's like the darkest.
Within 3 minutes, you're like, okay, this is the most sympathetic man on the planet. He's like doing a noble thing to try to save his sister. He's deaf and mute. None of this is his fault.
And then there's a guy. A voice comes in the sound mix from just another guy. Another nebulous voice that's like, "Hey, keep it down."
Shut up.
And it's like this commentary on like your suffering. Like that is like all the ways people react to somebody suffering.
Yeah.
Some people find it like stimulating. Some people don't give a fuck. Some people are totally tuned out to it. He's the guy. And then some people are like just find it a little annoying. You know, like, hey, keep it down.
It's completely compartmentalized. No, like it's like this. Yeah, this is a tragedy. This happens to everybody all the time in every city.
Yeah,
like there's always tales
which
like
is
this.
why the apartment complex is such a great metaphor.
Yeah,
that was such a great movie. Now that I'm thinking about it,
dude. Also, just the scene. Like if you watch it, it's not making default choices of like, well, this is how you convey information. They're like making interesting choices with how they do the camera.
I thought it was beautiful. You know, I got like a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, but dude, it came out in 2002 and it's Korean. I feel like back then they would just be like, "Don't get it."
Yeah,
like I don't really care about.
Yeah, well, I always think of it now as like all you ever see like on the internet now they post the profiles of people who do the Rotten Tomato scores now, and it's always like girl from Brooklyn with an agenda
has worn a beanie for 11 years.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah,
what does she have
it's
to say?
It's always like the men bad tweet.
Well, it's also
you know?
it's okay if you hate a
Rotten
movie.
Tomatoes has been compromised.
It's been compromised.
Yeah.
Also, it was always compromised. If you were like, I don't have time to look at a movie and all the content they give me to decide for myself. Like, they give you a trailer and a poster. Do you have no ability to discern whether or not you like a movie?
Well, yeah, that's the whole conversation about, like, is any criticism valid? You know, like,
But whatever. So he's trying to get a kidney for her, and he goes to this doctor, and it's like this bureaucratic scene. There's no chance she's getting a kidney. So he goes to the black market. There's this cool scene where, like, it's not really explained.
Oh, yeah, so he goes to the doctor, the real doctor, and the doctor's like, you need, like, 10 million...
won.
Insert Korean currency.
Which is like 700 billion American dollars. And then he's so
it's like $20 American.
Who knows? Scientists maintain that no one knows. But so he's not going to get the kidney. The doctor, it looks like.
Yeah, he's like, I don't have 10 million. No, he's like, you need 10 million won, but you need a donor.
Yeah,
and we can't find a donor.
Yeah. And that's like a big thing. Like there's always like, 7-year waiting list. You're like, I need it tomorrow. They're like, we'll see what we can do.
So then he sees a flyer in the bathroom.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
He sees a flyer in the bathroom, and the guys come in and they're like, hey, we're selling organs, which is hilarious. It's like a Louis bit.
Yeah.
Where he's like, that they would just post it around.
Free organ.
Yeah.
Not free, but sold.
That's one of those things where you're like, okay, is this like absurdist, or is this culture that fucked up where this shit flies? You know,
I think it's just one of those things in movies too where they go like, listen, man, like it's like a metaphor almost, like it's like a magical realism moment where you're like, all right, probably not. And then he brings a rose, and that's the signal that he's trying to buy an organ.
Yeah,
it's like it's probably not the signal, but whatever. So he goes to the black market to get a kidney, right? And they're like, it's gonna be 10 million won, and you got to give us your kidney. And he doesn't say yes, he just nods. And then
it's for 10 million won. They're like, you got to give us a kidney
and
then,
the money.
Yeah, and then we'll find a kidney and give you the kidney for your sister. But you got to give us one first.
And then so he comes back. There's a scene they count the money. He's giving him the money, and then cut to, and I've seen this type of thing a lot in movies. Naked Korean man. Just writhing, and you're like, what the hell? So for
a minute I was like, oh shit, we've somehow lapsed onto Connor's hard drive.
Yeah.
I was like, put the movie back on.
Connor, did you splice one of your movies into this movie? So it's a naked Korean man. It's our guy. He's gotten his kidney taken out. He's in a parking garage. He's just like, and he's trying to get, dude, he's deaf, he's mute, kidneyless, naked, trying to get, rank those by the way.
And walking around uterusless.
trying to get to like a hospital. The next scene, so he's got to recover. He's got to get his organs stolen. The next scene, they go to the doctor, and the doctor's all happy, and he's like, we found a donor. Isn't that crazy? Like, it's going to be ready in 2 weeks.
Dude, and just his face.
And he's just, and they're like, the doctor's like, deaf mute guy's like, no fun. But it's just like him realizing, he doesn't have 10 million more won. So now he's completely blown it.
Yeah.
Like now his sister has been giving up his whole life to try to save. He's blown it.
Yeah.
And his girlfriend, who's like this
communist girlfriend,
hardcore communist girlfriend, who's like incredibly appealing. She's yelling at people and being communist and hot the whole movie.
Dude, yeah, great. Like, even in Korea.
I know where this is going. I can feel this one.
Like, even in Korea, they have, like... That's how, like, pervasive it is. That's how universally annoying communist girls are. That even, like, this obscure art movie from Korea in the early aughts is like, yep, and his annoying left-leaning girlfriend kind of fucked him.
A little bit.
You know?
Little bit of maybe gave him some bad advice.
Just is such a universal trope.
She's hitting him because he fucked up. She's like,
she's clearly the abusive one.
It's like he spent the money on the black market kidney that didn't work out, and she's hitting him, being like, "You could have saved your sister." And it's like, hold on, can we zoom out?
The guilting.
He's still the one who worked at a factory to try to save his sister.
Cool it, Lady Macbeth. Even in the Shakespearean era, there was.
Dude, imagine being the girl who, like, you went on a bad date with Shakespeare, and then he wrote about it, and now it's like immortalized as like human relationship 101.
Yeah.
Like, there's somebody who pissed off Shakespeare, and he's like, this fucking, and then he wrote it, and now it's like the basis for every story.
Yeah.
That's a good way to go out. So then, whatever, he's got no money.
Oh, and I love
girlfriend.
also his communist, like, the way, what communist means in this context is like a South Korean who's in favor of, like, North Korean policies.
Yeah.
She, like, tried to
run away to North Korea. And
she tried to run away to North Korea.
Yeah.
Because which is also like a little political subtext in the movie. She's like, American capitalist influence is ruining our country, which is like, is it?
Wow, probably. There are some funny moments too where, like, she's like talking to, like, gangsters at some point, and she's giving them, like, leaflets or, like, destroy the fucking collective or whatever.
Oh, later
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So then
so he got his fucking kidney taken out.
Kidneyless,
and then the doctor is like, we could have got you one.
Well,
and he's like, now he doesn't have his money to do the
So he's still got time to get, if he can get the money, he can get to the doctor and he can still fix it. So, like, his girlfriend, another great idea, she goes, you should kidnap your boss's kid. And the kid it's like they were like, make a kid and make sure she's extra adorable. Like, the most sympathetic, sweet, like, goofy glasses and pigtails. It's like, oh, God, don't do this.
Yeah.
They're going to kidnap the kid. They're going to ask for the money. And then they're going to return the kid. And she's like, the kid's going to have a blast. It's going to be fine. Like, don't even sweat it. So, again, up to this point, everyone's acting reasonably. The guy, he's trying to do a noble thing. He's trying to save his sister. They kidnap the kid. The kid is having fun. It's like a nice big sleepover. Yeah. And then he gets the money, so he, like, calls the dad. The dad brings the money. He blindfolds the dad, takes the money, goes back to the kid, and he's like, there's a scene where he's so happy, and he's hanging out with the little girl he kidnapped, and, like, she's just watching TV. She's fine. And he's like, oh, we did it. You know, you can tell he's, like, so happy that he pulled it off. And then she, like, fucking spins around and twirls and whatever little kids do when they're watching Korean Blues Clues. And then she gives him a note. After, like, 2 minutes where we're just watching this guy, like, revel in how happy he is because he's done a good thing. And it's a note from his sister. And the sister says, I cannot believe you kidnapped her. That's the worst thing you could have done. Return her. Signed, my dying wish. And he freaks out, runs to the bathtub, and his sister has killed herself.
Ugh. I'm sorry, I just relived it. It's like,
it was so... Dude. Oh my God.
It's so intense.
You're just watching it being like, no. Like he, so now.
But then it gets pretty light after that.
The next scene is a song and dance number. Yeah. It's like, have you ever seen that Sinatra movie, Hawaii, or whatever the fuck?
Yeah, it's like, what's his name? Fucking Channing Tatum and Hail Caesar.
It's a lot
does a
like
little
that.
sailor number.
It's a lot like, it's like a Korean Hail Caesar musical. And so, whatever, she's bleeding out. It's heart-wrenching. It's horrifying. You know, our deaf mute guy, he's just, you know, really doing charades of looking sad. And he drives to, like, this lake with the little girl, and he's going to bury his sister. And he's like, I mean, he's so sad because his whole life he's been trying to save his sister. And this plan to save his sister backfired, and now it's like, God, what have I done, you know?
So he takes her to the quarry where they used to play as children.
Yes.
And
there's all these, like, and it's a beautiful movie. So there's these shots where you're like, oh no, like, it's a really
yeah. And so and then he just buries his sister by, like, placing rocks over her.
Weird burial, I'm gonna be honest.
Weird burial, yeah.
I would have gone with, like, a dirt.
he just places all these rocks over her.
Yeah.
And while he's doing it, this guy comes up who's got like
Mr. Y arms.
yeah, the
I
guy
described
who
his condition
swung
earlier.
on Matt at the open mic comes up, and he's like this.
He's one of those magical realism moments we're talking about, where it's like,
Yeah.
that dude, that's not nobody exists like that. That guy,
Yeah, he's like
rigid arms, just kind of spitting, and it's like clearly like he's got a couple palsies or a syndrome.
yeah, but he's like wearing like streetwear. It's like a weird character. Like
He's
you'll
wearing,
have
like,
to
a
watch it.
tracksuit.
It is one of those things that's like, you know, like Tarkovsky said, like you can't truly translate any art. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Daniel
like
Tosh
you
said
can't
that, too.
actually understand Daniel. You can't understand art if it's not you're not from the culture. True,
Yeah.
like which is an interesting idea that is like neither here nor there. But this is one of those moments where you're like, I don't know this guy. You know what I mean?
And you get like a bad...
communist girlfriend. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Whoever this guy is in the movie, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy walking around?
And we got to say, earlier in the movie, he gives her a necklace that's made out of like rocks that keeps coming up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
our deaf mute guy gives the little girl a necklace.
Yeah.
And then so he's covering her with rocks, right? And then the girl's sleeping in the car. The little girl that he's I don't know, I assume gonna return because they're not evil people.
Yeah.
And then here you can take it from. I'll let you get the next heartbreaking scene.
Okay, and then
Mr. Y arms.
So the guy who's walking around, this guy's clearly. I feel like we haven't done enough to explain who this guy is. He's like just a device in the movie. You know, he's like a literary device or an artistic device. Like he's mentally disabled, and his arms go like this, and he's like, "Arr!" and he can't talk.
He's like, "Arr!"
And while the deaf mute guy is burying his sister, he comes up and he starts like. While he's trying to put rocks over her to bury her, he's trying to throw them away.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, "Get the fuck out of here!" It's kind of funny.
It is a funny scene.
And then, like this guy, he goes and
Mr.
tries
Y
to take
arms.
the necklace from the sleeping girl,
Yeah.
the kidnapped girl in the car.
And you have this horrible. Anytime there's what looks to be like a homeless guy with a mental disorder
Touching a little girl.
interacting with a child in any
You're like,
way in a movie,
get out
you're
of
like,
here.
please no, please no, please no. So he's taking a stick and he's trying to get the necklace off of her.
Yeah, he's poking at her like Austin Powers with the mole guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, Goldmember. Mole.
There's like a Peter Griffin with that crocodile.
Yeah.
He's like, come on, do something.
Mr. Scaly Skin.
so
Mr.
she-
Bad Skin.
She's asleep.
And then that koala hits him.
Dude, Family Guy.
Family
We
Guy.
watched some great comps. So he's asleep. She's asleep. She wakes up. She's like, get out of here, you psycho.
Yeah.
And she gets out of the car, and she's trying to get our deaf mute guy's attention, whose name I guess is Ryu. She's
Yeah.
screaming it. And he's across this. You got to walk across this like precarious little wooden bridge to get to where he's burying his sister with rocks. And she's screaming. She's like, Ryu, and it's he can't hear. So
Yeah.
on her part, kind of a mistake. And then they cut to him. So the camera's now facing him. We can see her behind him, out kind of out of focus, running towards the little bridge. And you're like, oh, she's gonna come over. And then we kind of lose sight of her. Still focused on him, so the background's kind of fuzzy. And then you see like her orange dress, and it's in the water. And you're like, no fucking way. Like I was just like, no. I remember like we were watching it in these sick ass recliners, and I was just like squirming, like trying to get it, like, please don't let this fucking go. And then you just see her drown. You see her drown in the scene. And our guy like is just taking his time, like having this moment with his dead sister. And then he turns around and he sees Mr. Y arms.
Shit poopy.
Yeah,
Shit poopy.
Just with he's like not like a human character in the movie.
Yeah.
And you can tell because he in no way tries to save the little girl from drowning.
Yeah.
He's just off on his own adventure being like, rocks.
Yeah. He's like,
so our guy,
it's such a bizarre scene. It's
is.
like a thing from a dream. You know, like it's just
yeah.
like the space is strange and like the people in it are like,
he kind of acts like a mime. You know how mimes are just like doing shit where you're like, this is making me uncomfortable, even though it's like not necessarily threatening. It's just like bizarre. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
I've never seen a real mime in real life.
But you know, like in movies, mimes are always just like, ooh, and you're like, what the fuck is this? And they're not doing any. They're not like pantomiming stabbing you, but it's as scary. Yeah, they're just like, and they're like pretending to like moonwalk or whatever they're doing. I have no idea what mimes do, but you've seen enough of them in popular culture to be like, they're creepy, but you can't quite put your finger on why.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. We're clipping that. That's going to go up on YouTube. Connor on mimes. So this girl drowns, and our guy.
Welcome back to Mime Time.
Mime Time. It's kind of a video podcast.
Return of the Mimes game. You're like the Alex Jones truther of mimes.
Oh, dude. I mean, honestly, he's probably right about mimes, whatever he says.
Yeah.
I don't know what he said about them, but they are up to something.
Yeah.
Oh, I just like wearing paint and being quiet. Do you? Or is there some sort of plan?
Yeah, why don't you come out of the invisible box and tell us what's really going on?
Hey, how about I kick your mime ass, and then we see what you fucking know. All right? so whatever, mime man's on the shore. She drowns. He turns around. And dude, that might be the worst scene in the movie to me. Is this like frantic There Will Be Blood music starts playing, and he's running to try and find her, and because he sees that she's in the water, and then by the time they cut back to where she's like kind of like waterlogged and drowned, and you're just like, oh,
and she's
my
like stuck on a little
God.
rock out in the water, and
bobbing against a rock,
and then the guy with the wire arm swims out to her, and he
forgot about
takes that necklace off her with his teeth.
And it's just it's like this scene where it's just like it's like kind of slow, and you're just watching him like realize like, dude, my sister died from this, and now I never planned to kill this little girl. Like, he's a decent human, I guess. He's not trying to kill her, and she's dead. Yeah. So now you realize, like, oh, this guy's not the guy getting vengeance.
Yeah. Immediately you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
And it really is just like in a moment you're trying to do the right thing in life.
He goes from being the hero. He's trying to save his like kidneyless sister. I mean, that's the most like noble shit ever. Yeah. To now he's a guy who killed a kid. Yeah. And then from this point it picks back up with the boss, the father, dad. Yeah.
The dad. And now you're like, let's go, Dad. Yeah. It's so crazy how quickly I shifted watching the movie to be like, oh, kill this dude.
Kill him, kill the communist girlfriend.
Which is not even I guess it is the point of the movie, because
I think it is.
At the end you're like, this is so sad, and everyone is kind of empathetic and tragic in their own way. But in the moment you're like, oh, I can't wait to see this guy.
This is a weird, I was thinking about it at, like later that night after we watched it. Like, I kind of felt satisfied at the end, where I was like, good. Like, if you kill a guy's daughter and he hunts you down and kills you and gets to like look you in the face and be like, I'm killing you because you did this. Yeah. You know, I don't know if that's like a way to that's not a moral that you should use to navigate your life, but like if you end up in a scenario where someone kills your daughter,
well, within like the artistic bubble of watching a movie, just examining those emotions is interesting.
Also, there's something like viscerally satisfying about
that's what it is.
That guy hunted him down and was like, I want you to know I'm gonna kill you because you did this.
And he does. He
does. Yeah.
He hunts him down. And should we?
I guess we got it. We'll finish we can speed up the recap, but it cuts to we're down with Dad. He's fucking horribly distraught. It's the most insane thing ever. Yeah. And he starts. You can tell he's like prepping to go on the warpath. And then our deaf mute guy, he is not done. He's trying to get. So he now is trying to find the people who stole his kidney. Right. So he has his communist girlfriend like do the same thing he did to get in touch with them. She fucking gives him leaflets, which is like a funny scene. Yeah. And then she's about to get tricked the same way, right? So she goes in, and they're about to do the fake surgery on him.
Oh yeah, so they're giving them leaflets is hysterical.
Awesome. Yeah, and also just shows like, God damn, can it ever just not be about you? Yeah. And then so whatever. So he shows up with a bat. Yeah. And he kills the one guy. There's two people and a old lady. That's who's the like syndicate. Kills the first guy. Walks in, super dramatic scene, like sticks a pen in this the other bad guy's neck.
Yeah, and you're like, oh yeah, you're like, now you're also like, you flip again, you're like, yes, get vengeance on them.
It's horribly graphic violence, and it's awesome. Like it's shot in a way where you're like, if you just wanted like a John Wick action movie, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude, and just the creative violence in it, it's amazing, so intense,
and it's from 2002, and it's like one of those movies where as you get older, you realize, dude. This must have been getting ripped off by American movies for like decades without me ever knowing this movie existed. Yeah. Because there's so many things where you're like, that looks so modern. Yeah. It's an awesome movie.
Dude, and literally like even like the outfits they're wearing look like fashion now. Yeah, it's crazy.
Come back around.
Yeah.
We dressed like South Korea 20 years ago.
Truly. And
I'm gonna see what they're wearing now and get in on it. On the ground floor.
get on it in the future.
Connor, what are you wearing?
So then yeah, so also all the like insanely creative violence.
It's awesome.
It's not just exploitation. It's like it also serves like some deeper artistic thing.
Yeah.
Where he's like, so he stabs this guy. It's like the henchman.
Yeah.
The guys who steal kidneys, and then the boss is
And he
like
looks
their
like,
mom.
and the henchman's just like a big mountain man. Like he looks like he like talks like that, you know. And he's like a very weird, just huge. Oh, he walks in. He's fucking some, like it looks like drugged girl. Like the henchman's clearly like a bad. These are bad people.
These are bad people.
Yeah.
And they steal kidneys.
Yeah.
And then
kidneyless.
The mother runs the operation of these two henchmen who are her sons.
And you find out because he stabs him in the neck.
And then the mother, and then there's a scene where the mother's looking at him, and she's like, "It's in an artery. Don't take it out." And then the deaf guy pulls it out of his fucking artery.
Blood's.
And then he's like, "Mommy!" And then he dies. And for a moment, you feel like sympathy for him.
Well, so he dies. He falls to the ground.
Yeah.
Deaf mute guy has a bat.
Yeah.
And here's like, I don't know why this stuck with me so much. He's looking at the mom. And he's crushing the guy's head. And at a certain point, the noise changes from like squish to like bink, like hitting concrete with the bat, because he has clearly hit it so many times that it is now hitting the concrete. And I was like, holy shit, what a crazy detail. And then we see the mom advancing on him with a knife and
with
then
a scalpel.
Yeah, a little scalpel. So it cuts back to
the dad.
The
dad finds the communist girlfriend.
After this crazy scene where he gives up his company, sells his house, hires these investigators to help him figure out who did it. There's all these crazy there's a cool like investigation story where they're trying to find the guy. They figure out who it is.
Yeah.
They find like a photo of his daughter against the couple's wallpaper, and they mash them up, and they're like, this is them. Finds the communist girlfriend.
Yeah.
He's an electrical engineer, which comes up because he goes to her.
I missed that.
I didn't realize that till he shocks the guy later.
Yeah.
So he's an electrical engineer. That's how he started his business. So he finds a communist girlfriend, and he beats her up, and then he like ties her up. He's interrogating her, and at a certain point this crazy scene where he licks her ear, and then clips like things you'd use to jump your car to her ears. And then he's interrogating her, and when she won't tell him, he turns on the battery. He's like, "Meh," and she's screaming, and it's a crazy scene. And then he does that, and she's like, at a certain point, he's like asking her again, and she goes, if you kill me, that my organization will kill you, my communist organization.
Yeah.
And
she says terrorist.
Yeah, my terrorist organization.
She's like, I'm in a terrorist organization, and you're kind of like, okay.
And
she's just talking shit.
She says, I know you're a good guy.
Yeah.
Which is like a recurring theme. So it's like, she's like, I know you're a good guy, but if you kill me, they'll kill you. She's like, I'm doing this for you. I'm trying to save you. Don't kill me. And he just turns on the battery till she is like dead. She gets fried.
She pees herself.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because there's this other scene earlier where the dad, after his daughter died, he imagines that she's standing there, soaked in water.
Yeah.
And is like, why didn't you give me swimming lessons sooner? Shapoopy.
It's so dark.
And he imagines her there. But then you said this was a moment of magical realism. I think it was piss on the floor.
Piss on the floor.
Yeah, the guy, the
Connor Larson story.
Later, the detective comes into his apartment, and he sees the water on the floor.
Yeah.
I think that the dad peed.
Yeah, you think he peed on the floor?
I think he pissed on the floor while he was imagining that happening. I think he pissed on the floor because he's standing there holding her.
Yeah.
And the water's dripping on the floor. I think he pissed on the floor. And then because later when she gets electrocuted, she pisses on the floor.
Yeah, and there's like the shot is very focused on that.
Pee is a theme in this.
Pee's a theme in my whole life.
Yeah. There's like a lot of pee metaphors.
Not a day goes by I don't piss.
It's so crazy. You know? And then so then he tortures her, he kills her. And then
dude, my favorite scene is coming up.
Yeah. And so then he leaves or whatever, and then the deaf guy comes back to find his communist girlfriend,
and he got stabbed.
He got stabbed by
he's like bleeding copiously.
Yeah. And then he gets to her apartment, and there's like people there. There's like press. There's cops. There's like EMTs, and they take out. He's like looking around in the hallway, and they take out her body.
She's getting wheeled out in a body bag. And it's like weird one too, because it's like they're on a dolly.
Yeah.
So then he's freaking out. They go to the elevator.
Yeah.
And they stand the dolly up. So she's dead in a body bag, you know, inert, standing. And there's like 6 cops who get in with her. And so she's in the back middle. He's in the back left. And, you know, his girlfriend's dead. He's freaking out.
He's trying not to, be noticed by anybody in the elevator, by the police, because he's wanted. And he's just standing there next to his
blood's dripping on
dead
his
communist
shoe.
girlfriend, yeah.
And then because she's, you know, laying, like, her just totally inert. And he reaches his hand in, and, like, grabs her hand, is holding her hand, her dead, electrocuted hand, the whole elevator down. It's like, I mean, if you like movies, like, that fucking scene is so good. It's awesome. And then, so, whatever, she's dead. And that's a different side of my brain. Whatever, dude, she's dead. And now they're trying to find each other. Dad's trying to find deaf guy. Deaf guy's trying to find the dad because he killed the communist girlfriend. And the dad's just waiting in the communist guy's apartment. And the deaf guy's waiting in his apartment. It's like this crazy, they're cutting back and forth. And then you see the communist guy leave. Not the deaf guy. You see the deaf guy leave. And he gets back to his apartment. And he sees through the window the dad is passed out on his floor. And you're like, fuck, dude. You're going to die. Like, you screwed it up.
Yeah.
He's got the jump on you or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you know, deaf guy's like got a knife and he's trying to figure out. He's like, should I stand here? Should I stand here? And he's trying to figure out how he's going to get him. And then you see the guy. He goes to open the door to get into his apartment. Like he's just going to go in and stab him. And he gets zapped and he's unconscious.
Yeah.
And the dad gets up right away. Like clearly it was like all a trap.
Which is a really, again, creative.
It's awesome. And it's like any good writing. Like it's like a callback. Like, oh, he was an electrical engineer. Oh, it's like all, you know, everything makes sense. It's not, there's never just a scene where they're like, because we need it to happen, which I fucking hate every superhero movie.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, there's a character called explain the background character.
Yeah.
You're like, God damn it.
That's the difference. It's kind of like when like Cross dissolves. I was watching that Kubrick documentary about The Shining, like the conspiracy theories.
Grizzly
like,
Man?
Grizzly Man.
Yes.
Man versus Wild. And they were talking about how like most directors just use a cross dissolve to like show that time has passed in like in the regular narrative.
Yeah.
But Kubrick used him like stretched out his cross dissolves in The Shining to like so that images would overlay with each other.
Yeah.
And they were like symbolic things you have to like decode
to interact with each other.
Exactly.
That's one of the cool things about this movie. Everything they're doing, like from the dialogue, the sound, the way they're shooting at the angles, it's like attempting to do something interesting.
Right.
And so many movies are just like, eat your slop. Like they're just giving it to you because you're comfortable and you know how to interpret it. And God forbid you have to like think and figure out what the fuck's happening.
And feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's
like that's when there's this moment, dude, where like before he goes and gets shocked by the doorknob.
Yeah.
The guy.
That makes it sound like it's funny. Like, no! Like,
no, it is a Homer Simpson comp.
A little bit.
And he's sitting in his car. The brother who's just like, he's killed the daughter. His sister committed suicide. His girlfriend is fucking dead.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting in his car. He has nowhere to go. And he's just like exhausted. And I felt sympathy again for him a little bit. And he's like, because this movie is about sympathy as much as it is about vengeance, which is why it's called Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
It's mostly about misters.
That's
what I don't like.
Which I am realizing 72 hours later.
72 hours and an hour into us talking about it. We're both like, I think there's some sympathy things.
Yeah.
You guys, why do you listen
But
to this?
he's sitting there, and dude, it just reminded me of being on the road doing comedy. Like, it's just like, after the fucking loony bin, dude. It just is like sitting at a fucking rest stop in Little Rock, Arkansas, dude.
I love that you're like, it's the same level of grim.
It's kind of the same. My experience is actually a little more grim because mine actually happened. My life is actually this sad. No, he, dude, when he's just got his hands on the wheel and he's just like, oh, fuck. God damn, dude. He's like, just a moment of peace to like think about what's going on, what he's going to do next. And then he pees. He has to like, he's got to take his cock out and pee in a bottle.
Yeah. That one I did not care for the angle because they don't see nothing.
God, I just you remember we were talking to Lee about just like
Taking he was talking
the
about
agony of trying to pee in a bottle on the road.
Lee Kimbrell said he's incredible at pissing in a bottle on the road, like when he's driving, and he said it like, and that's a skill that you can really make some money with. Like he said it like it mattered. And And we were just like, dude, take the 40 seconds to pull over. How long are you pissing?
No, I get it. I was pretty impressed.
You were like, God, what are you saving 6 minutes a month, dude? What's going? Like, it was. I didn't. I was just like, all right, man. I love you, Lee. I don't really give a shit.
I wanted to hear the whole thing.
I wanted to hear it. I just don't think it's a.
We lost that podcast because the electricity went out. Or
God
something.
didn't want us to do the podcast.
Yeah,
we were literally mid podcast, and he went, "I've heard enough about this pissing." Turned it off. We're like, all
enough.
All right, dude.
But then he just leaves the bottles. Back to the movie. He pees in like two or three bottles, and then he leaves them on the road. And I think the bottles are a metaphor for the people the women in his life who have just died. I don't know like what it is. There's like 3 bottles and 3 women just died, and it's like he's like flushing out.
I thought it was an ad for Mountain Dew Yellow. Can we rule that out?
Pepsi Yellow?
Pepsi Yellow.
Pepsi Yellow?
Mountain Dew Yellow's a bad name.
Pepsi Yellow. That's piss in there.
Pepsi Yellow. It's piss. Shut up. Drink it. I think every soda ad should do that. Shut up. Drink it. You don't care.
The same great piss taste you love with half the calories. Pepsi Yellow.
Shut up. You're not thinking about your health. Drink it.
Drink it. It's
Pepsi.
piss. Pepsi Yellow. That's piss in there.
So Piss Man leaves.
The same great piss taste. So Piss Man leaves.
With less fizz.
But yeah, so it's like this thing where it's like emotionally like he's like cleansing himself of these things so that he can do his next thing, which is what you do whenever you leave a relationship or you just kind of like as a guy, you just like
You piss in a bottle outside their house.
You piss in a bottle and fucking
Yeah.
You know, just this empty emotional process.
Piss in a bottle, seal it up, put it in the fridge.
There you go.
But
Pepsi Yellow.
Anytime someone comes over, I'm like, stay out of the fridge. Stay out. I do like that both the dudes have this. There's like a sense of duty with the vengeance.
Why is the fridge warm?
Why is the fridge? What are you running like an
We
apple
keep
juice?
that fridge warm. That's a warm fridge.
Hey, that's my piss. Stay
That's
out of
not
there.
a fridge. It's a warm box.
That's my piss. Get out.
Is he in our hot box looking for piss?
That piss is mine.
Pepsi Yellow. That's piss in there. I can't stop saying it.
God damn it. So they have this.
How do you imagine the can?
Oh, the Pepsi Yellow can?
Yeah. The can is like an amber color.
You know, remember Mellow Yellow? They had like that sort of like weird, like it was like a repeating pattern bullshit. Yeah. It's that, but it's a piss yellow. Yeah. And it's just called Pepsi Yellow.
It's like yellow brown.
Yeah.
See, I imagine just a regular blue Pepsi can.
Hold on, I have some.
But the text where it says Pepsi is like piss brown.
Now that we've devoted enough time to this, is Pepsi Yellow a real product that's coming out?
No.
It's just a thing we started
I
saying.
mean, I might release it on the Patreon.
Yeah, we'll make
you can now buy Pepsi Yellow exclusively.
We have a new tier. For $12, we'll make you a soda.
From our hot fridge to your home.
We will make you a soda for $12. Everyone's different, and we'll do we'll get like the home brew shit. So we'll seal it up. It'll be like, you'll be able to do the crack a can. What's that? It's a Animal Secrets soda.
And then it'll have. It's like this on the label.
You crack it and like a bug crawls out. You're like, oh my god!
Pepsi Yellow.
I gotta join the Patreon. Get me a Pepsi Yellow. Dude, what if someone was like loving this movie and they were like, "What the fuck is this Pepsi Yellow? How did we get?" Listen, we do both. We do both.
You like go in to see a movie at like the cinema. At the cinema.
I was at the picture show.
At the picture show.
The World Fair. In Paris in 1950.
And it's like one of those fucking like before the movie they do like the roller coaster and you like go buy the popcorn.
The 20? Did you have the 20?
Yeah.
The 20 minutes before where they show you like, here's Channing Tatum teaching a giraffe how to do Scrabble. And you're like, this fucking sucks.
Or like it'll be like here's trivia, like which one of these
dude, and the questions are insane.
Guys is gay or whatever.
Who is
like Martin Scorsese?
Yeah,
Martin
Scorsese,
or
John
Marty
Waters.
Scorsese. Yeah. Which one of these directors is a gay guy or whatever? And then you guess, and then you go, "See, I told you."
Yeah.
But then they do the thing where it's like a roller coaster. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
I know. But it's all and it's like popcorn flying at you.
It's food that'll kill you.
It's all Pepsi Yellow.
Yeah,
that's what I was trying to get to.
Mother of God. Oh, God damn it. We're going to get that some psycho patron is gonna draw us like a Pepsi Yellow. It's never gonna stop,
Dude,
now.
if you can take the piss bottles from with the movie Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and put Pepsi Yellow on it.
We'll do it. I'll do it on Photoshop.
Send us
tonight.
$12 and we'll make you.
We'll make you a soda. That's a new tier we got. We'll make you a soda. And boy, are you gonna not like it. So all right,
Yeah.
let's get. So,
Okay, all right.
our boy, no talk is he's
No talk,
he's
straight
shot.
edge. No talk, no smoke, no fuck. He's straight. No, he's just straight edge.
That's me in 8th grade summer. And
You
then
seen a deaf mute guy, and you're like, no, and he's blind. You're like, no, he's just straight
he's
edge.
straight edge, dude. He doesn't do nothing. So then, dad is taking deaf mute guy. This is how the script was written. Dad takes deaf mute guy to the quarry, which if I had $1 for every time I said that. And he's talking to him, and deaf mute guy is just shaking. Like, he looks so like pitiful. He's just kind of like, what's gonna happen? And you
even start to feel some sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
the whole movie, everybody is like understandable enough to empathize. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're like, that's what's cool about it. It's like a grown ass movie where you're like, oh, I like this. It's a grown ass movie. And then he goes, you're a good guy, but I have to kill you.
Yeah.
And the guy, he doesn't say anything.
So he binds his hands and feet, and then he drags him through the water out into where his daughter drowned.
And it's this crazy overhead shot, and you're just watching this deaf mute guy struggle while he's being like dragged through the water.
And then he cuts his he cuts the bindings on his hands, and you're like, oh, is he gonna let him
He's
go?
gonna let him go. So I thought he was gonna let him
And
go.
then he's like, he says he goes,
you're a good guy.
you're a good guy.
Which is a recurring. People keep saying this before they end up killing somebody. Like when she's like, "We're not going to hurt the little girl. We're good people."
Yeah.
She says to him before you're not going to kill me. You're a good guy. So he says to him, "You're a good guy." He goes, I have to kill you." Which I love that, like, where he's like, "This has to be. I have an obligation to do this."
Yeah.
And then
Han.
crazy moment. The camera zooms way out. He dives down. You're like, what the fuck? And you start to see deaf mute guy screaming, and he's like drowning, like he's not. You're like, what's going on? And then they cut. So the guy swam down and with a knife cut his Achilles tendons, which are the tendons that let you pick up your feet. So the guy can't move, and he drowns and bleeds out.
But it's to simulate drowning, right? That's what you said. So he wanted to watch him try to splash around.
To drown where his daughter drowned.
Yes.
It's like really like elaborate. Like, I have an obligation to make you drown. You let her drown, I have to drown you. It's a crazy thing. And then he
goes up to bury the body.
Yeah, and you're like, damn, this is the end of the movie. He killed the guy. He's burying him, and I think he's doing like the same weird. No, he's not.
It's another. No, he's got him
burial.
in bags. He's like chopped his body up and shit.
And he's digging.
But it's another burial scene. It's another trope in the movie, like burying.
Yeah.
This guy now at the quarry.
Yeah.
And then you see a black Jeep drive up, and you're like, oh.
Huh, what's going on here?
What's going on here? What is this? His Postmates getting here? Or
And then
what's going on?
A family gets out and they just have a lovely picnic. No, that's not what happens.
It's the Little Miss Sunshine bus, and Steve Carell gets out and they do a little number, and Paul Dano gives him a smooch on the cheek. Shapoopy, Pepsi Yellow. That's piss in there.
So we don't know who it is. It's these four dudes just staring at him.
Yeah, it's four dudes smoking cigarettes. Four Korean motherfuckers.
Yeah.
In black clothing,
just staring
smoking
at him,
cigs.
like, and almost looking at him like he's like in a zoo. Like they're kind of like trying to figure out like what's going on. Like they're like, what? They're just staring at him. And then the one guy, they start stabbing him.
Yeah, well, he looks at the picture because early the girl who got tortured, the communist girlfriend's like, I gave them your picture.
Yeah, and
like they'll come get you.
And there's a scene where when they kill the communist girl, the cops go, she's the only member of her organization. Yeah. So you think, oh, she was bluffing. She's full of shit.
Yeah.
And then the guy looks at the picture and they start stabbing him. And there's like this crazy scene where they're all taking turns running and stabbing him.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, like screaming.
It takes a long time.
It's a really like, that's the thing about this movie. Like the violence is like stylized, but it's like, it makes you like, you got to watch all the violence. It's not like, you get it. It's like, no. You got to see it.
Yeah.
So he staggers back, falls against his car, and then a guy takes the photo, or maybe a piece of paper.
No, he takes a mission statement.
Oh, the leaflet, essentially.
He takes basically a leaflet that says we sentence you to death.
Yeah, that she's been printing out the whole movie. It's like a recurring thing, and he sticks it to the guy and then stabs his knife through it to keep it on the guy.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "What the fuck?" Like the dad is like, "What the fuck? Like what was it?" And then that's it.
Yeah.
That's the end of the movie. And you're just like, you're sitting there and you're just like, I don't think either of us said anything for like 5 minutes. We're just like, God damn, dude. Like, what a horrifying. It's a beautiful movie, but like, dude, it's tragedy. Like, nobody has a good time.
You know what? It reminded me of that Dostoevsky quote.
What, life is nothing but change and suffering?
Well, but the second half of a man's life is.
Oh, yeah. The second half of a man's life is the product of the habits he developed in the first half.
I just thought of that. So, like, you don't even know what's coming to you.
No.
Like, at the end, you'll just be undone by some, like, nebulous force.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So elaborate. There's no way. Like, dude, when you think about the stuff that's happened in your life, good or bad, there's so many, like, things that happened, like, countries away. Or, like, you ever think about a girlfriend and how you met, and it's like, had she left 5 minutes earlier and you didn't bump into each other in the circus tent, or, like, wherever you met?
Right.
Like, you never, all those things. That's sort of how life is always, where it's like, you don't know what's going to happen. You make one tiny decision, and it's the fucking butterfly effect.
It's like when Steve Buscemi comes in and snipes the guy in Billy Madison.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
you're like, oh, yeah.
Glad I was nice to that guy.
Yeah.
And that's how life is, like, with everything, where you're just like, yeah, when you look backwards at it, you can construct a narrative that makes sense and makes you feel like you were in control and you did stuff. Dude,
and the dad being so completely certain that he had, like, won. That he was like, this moment of victory.
Yeah.
Like, I've done it. I'm done. I'm ending it. And then just being, like, rolled up on and completely dominated by this black, ominous force of, like, almost this thing that exists outside the entire narrative.
Yeah.
This, like,
There's this closed circuit story, and then something comes in from outside and is like, oh, actually, we have the final say. And you're like, who the fuck are these guys?
That is what life is.
Yeah.
Is you're like, this is my story, this is my story, this is my story, and there's like, you have cancer. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, cancer. Remember when you did that, like, you ate that,
You drank a Pepsi Yellow. What'd you think?
Yeah.
You weren't getting cancer?
Yeah.
Think you're not getting cancer? You had a Pepsi Yellow.
You remember you were drinking a lot of Pepsi Yellow for a little bit?
Yeah, what do you think that is? Cancer.
Yeah.
We made you a soda.
We made you.
But I kind of... So that's like an interesting... I kind of think he did win. I think once he killed the guy, I don't really care if he buries him. He's like, I did it. Like, my life is ruined. My daughter's dead. Everything sucked. It was for nothing. But I fulfilled my obligation. Like, if he has some sort of moral code that he has to have vengeance, he got it. And at that point, I almost think, like, it's driving home the fact that it's like, no matter what the cost, you have to get vengeance, and it does not matter if you get killed by the communist, whatever. You had to do it because they killed your daughter. And I love that. Like, I mean, I don't give a shit about, like, whether or not I agree with art. I just like that it's like such a distinct view, and it's like a coherent idea where it's like, no, vengeance at all costs. That was awesome. It's such a good movie, and it's like such a weird theme to, like, explore in that way, where you're like, I kind of feel like there's, like, no respect for vengeance or honor, and it's like, no, man, at a certain point, like, you gotta have some of that.
Yeah.
Or, like, a lot of it.
Sorry, I was just thinking about that fucking girl dying again.
Oh, dude.
It's so fucking intense.
It's one of the craziest scenes. And the music and
God damn. And the color palette is so washed, and there's just, like, this grim acceptance. You're like, yes, there is something, like, in the Eastern philosophy that is like, it is just this grim acceptance of this cycle of perpetuating violence and trying to make sense of the bad things that happen to you, and, like, trying to gain control by, like, trying to lash out, and just ultimately you are not in control. And even if you are, the actions that you make towards somebody to try and make sense of your life will end up undoing you.
Yeah. Well, it's like a weird thing about control where it's like, you're not in control, but you are in control of, like, you can fucking hunt them down.
Yeah.
So there's a weird, like, thing where it's like, this guy did nothing wrong, and his basically things happened. Some other guy, his sister's sick, so he loses his daughter, his company, his house, his wife.
He pees on the floor.
The only thing he has that he can control is he's like, oh, I'm gonna kill this guy. And it's like a weird one where you're like, in a weird way, he does have control, but like in
It does
life
add.
in general,
It does
no.
add like an interesting structure to his
Yeah.
character.
It's also like a movie where it's like, all right, we just recapped the whole thing. We just watched it. Like, I don't really know what it's not holding your hand and going, here's what you're supposed to think, which is a nice change.
And you know what's interesting too? Here's the thing too. Is another cool theme in it is you know the beginning of the movie when he's like driving with the and the one of his employees comes out and like makes this like grand gesture, like starts cutting himself with a knife.
He's like, don't fire me, I have to feed somebody, and he's like, what?
And they're trying to like wrestle the knife out of his hands. It's just this chaotic fucking scene. And his life is clearly so fucking insane and chaotic if shit like this is happening to him.
Yeah.
And then after his daughter dies, like how structured and one note his life becomes after it. It's almost
purpose.
like this horrible thing that is it's almost a gift.
Yeah.
It's like it's given his life like a single focal point.
Yeah. Everybody in the movie has like him and the deaf mute guy both have like really kind of, you're kind of like, okay, it's cool that you have a life that is, the purpose is so clear even to me watching it for 3 minutes. Like, you gotta save your sister and you gotta avenge your daughter. Like, there's never like, it's not one of those A24 movies where a character's like, what should I be doing? Like, it's not that shit at all.
You know what you should be doing? Drinking a Pepsi Yellow.
You should be drinking a Pepsi Yellow. Unless you're a fucking loser. I don't know if you don't want to drink it, but
we made it in our bodies.
If you want a soda, it's $12.
We'll make it for you.
We'll make you a soda.
So anyway, that's Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
It was awesome. I think we're gonna try to watch more. Park Soon. What? Park? What? Huh? What's his name?
Park Chan-wook.
Park Chan-wook.
Yeah, he's got some great ones. The Handmaiden is great.
We might
Thirst
watch that.
is a great one. He's got like a vampire love story that's like awesome.
Yeah, he did Twilight.
It's like Goodfellas, but they're vampires. Like the relationship.
Korean Twilight.
Korean Twilight. So Korean Twilight. Handmaiden, people get fucked by an octopus. You can't miss.
We'll be doing that.
Old Boy, and then Lady Vengeance. But on this podcast, we're gonna be doing our Vengeance series.
Yeah.
So this is the first installment. We're also gonna do. I think next week we're gonna do Macbeth.
Yeah, we're gonna do the A24 reboot of Macbeth, and I think we'll talk about like.
I think we should just do Macbeth.
Yeah.
Episode
a
just
few
tragedy
iterations.
of Macbeth and compare and contrast it to Akira Kurosawa's Throne of Blood.
We'll throw up a poll and you can rank your Macbeths.
Yeah. And then we'll do a third thing where maybe we might do Dune. Or
we'll do more shit. Just hang out. We'll get it to you.
Vengeance, baby. It's Vengeance time. It's Vengeance month.
Yeah. We're back with video. We're going to try to do some more shit. And it is really nice the people who stuck with us. Thanks for doing that. And thanks for new people who joined the Patreon. We're good. We're both going to be at New Material Monday.
Material Monday.
Most weeks.
At Zany's.
You had a headline show at Zany's. You'll have another one. We'll plug that when it comes out.
Yeah, I'll plug that. I'm at I don't know if this will come out before that, but I'm at the Grove in Fayetteville, Arkansas, like the weekend of January 28th.
Shout out
then.
Bill.
And then I got
Bill
some
at the
dates with
Grove.
Theo Vaughn coming up too in Illinois. So
hell yeah. All right, so that's it. We will see you guys later, and send us ideas for stuff you want to see. We might not do it. Pepsi Yellow.